welcome to Communicate to Lead, the podcast that empowers leaders and aspiring leaders to communicate with clarity and impact. I'm Kele Belton, CEO and successful entrepreneur, and your host for today. I'm here to equip you with all the essential tools and strategies to master effective communication and lead your team to success. As the founder and CEO of The Tailored Approach, my goal is to empower you to be the best leader you can be. So sit back, relax, and join me in today's episode as we dive into the art of communicating like a true leader.
You know that moment when someone Googles you before a big meeting? Or when a speaking opportunity comes up and the organizers want to check out your professional presence? Well, 9 out of 10 times, they're heading straight to your LinkedIn profile. Welcome back to Communicate to Lead. I'm Kele Belton, and today we're diving into something absolutely crucial for every leader's toolkit, making LinkedIn work for you as a powerful leadership platform. Let me share something personal. Just last year, I received a message on LinkedIn from a VP of People Operations at a fast-growing startup. She'd been following my posts about team development and leadership culture for months. When their company decided to plan their first executive offsite, she immediately thought of me. She said to me, "Your LinkedIn content showed me exactly how you think about leadership and team dynamics. I felt like I already knew your approach and could trust you with our leadership team." That's when it hit home. For me, LinkedIn isn't just another social media platform. It's your leadership brand's digital headquarters, and it's working for you 24/7 to attract ideal clients and opportunities. Today's episode is packed with actionable strategies to transform your LinkedIn presence from just another profile to an irresistible leadership brand. And I'm speaking directly to you, whether you're already in a leadership position or working your way up or interested in being at the senior leadership table. We'll cover everything from profile optimization to content strategy with specific examples that work in today's professional landscape. As we begin, I want you to think about this. When was the last time you looked at your LinkedIn profile through the eyes of someone you admire in your industry? What would they think about your profile? Now, keep that perspective in mind as we go through today's strategies. Okay, here goes. We're going to start off with the foundation of an irresistible leadership profile. So let's start with what I call the Power Trinity of your profile: your photo, your banner, and headline. These 3 elements create that crucial first impression. First up, your professional photo. And let's talk about something real here. I know many of us struggle with the balance between looking professional and appearing approachable. So here's my golden rule. Your photo should make you feel confident and authentic. When I updated my LinkedIn photo last year, I chose to wear my favorite blazer, the one that makes me feel like I can conquer any boardroom. You probably have seen it. It's my red blazer. But I also make sure that my smile was genuine. Most of the time when women leaders connect with me on LinkedIn, they often mention how my profile photo radiates both competence and approachability. Here are some quick photo tips to help you take a magnetic leadership profile photo. 1, opt for solid colors that complement your skin tone. 2, position yourself slightly to one side. Studies have shown this increases engagement. 3, use natural lighting whenever possible. And 4, yes, invest in a professional photographer. If you can't at the moment, that is totally fine, but ask someone else to take the photo for you because selfies don't quite have the same impact and impression on LinkedIn. What message does your current profile photo send? What does it say about you? Do you think about the profile that you have up there? And how long have you had that profile? Does it align with how you want to be perceived as a leader today? If that's a no, you know what you need to do. Moving on to your banner image. This is prime real estate that most of us don't maximize. Think of this as your personal billboard. And if you're wondering, Kele, what on earth is a banner? It's that top banner right there on LinkedIn where your profile picture is slightly to the left. That is your banner. That's your prime real estate that you want to ensure you use and maximize. So here's what works. Feature yourself in action if you have some photos from industry events or working with your team, or maybe team building exercises that you were leading one of the exercises. Perhaps speaking at an event or leading a team meeting. Include your brand colors. Don't overcomplicate it. Choose 1 to 2 colors that you love that represent you and use those colors consistently. 3, add a subtle call to action like your website or your signature program if you're a business owner. If you are a leader in a corporate space, make sure to invite them to connect with you on LinkedIn or anything else that you might be interested in. That's where you want to ensure that you add that. So take a moment to visualize your ideal banner. What elements would showcase your leadership journey? Make sure that that banner represents you. Now, let's tackle the headline, your professional tagline. This is where many women play it safe, but I encourage you to be bold. Instead of just saying Director of Marketing at Tech Company, try something like Marketing Director, empowering teams to drive 10x growth, speaker on women's leadership in tech, Forbes contributor. Make sure to list your top achievements. It's time to show the value you bring to your work environment in any environment that might be interested in your leadership power. So really do some brainstorming, write down your top achievements, and make sure you add them to that tagline. Don't get stuck with just one. Don't make it simply focus on the job, but focus on the value that you really brought to your environment and that you could potentially bring to a different environment if you so choose. Okay, now let's talk about content optimization. How can you optimize your content for your leadership journey? You know what's interesting about LinkedIn? Many of us treat our profiles like a set it and forget it situation. But when you actually take the time to revamp your about section using the strategy I'm about to share, you would be amazed at how it can attract recruiters and decision makers. The difference? It's all about telling your story in a way that resonates with the right people at the right time. Let's dive into how you can optimize your content to make your profile work as hard as you do. Because you're working hard already, you might as well showcase it with your LinkedIn profile. First up, your about section. Think of this as your TED Talk in written form. Here's my proven structure. Start with a hook that stops the scroll. We all bombarded with so much content. We're all scrolling through social media, including LinkedIn. You want people to stop right there and read what you have to say. For example, what if financial leadership wasn't just about numbers, but about empowering teams to make data-driven decisions that drive growth? See how that's more compelling than I'm a CFO with 15 years of experience? Yeah. So here's a question for you. What unique perspective do you bring to your leadership role that might surprise people? That's your hook. Now let's build your story. Share your why. What drives you as a leader? For example, I believe women leaders bring unique perspectives to financial strategy. That's why I've dedicated my career to not just managing numbers, but mentoring the next generation of female financial leaders. What a way to showcase that you are not only about the data, the dry stuff, the boring stuff that so many people think of that, but that you see so much more into that. Showcase that with your story. Next, weave in your achievement. But here's the key. Frame them through the lens of impact. Instead of simply saying, managed a $50 million budget, try transformed a $50 million budget into strategic investments that grew our team by 60% while maintaining profitability. The second one has a lot more impact. It really tells a story. It shows versus telling. And here I encourage you to use the results action situation format, which is the reverse of the situation action result method. I'm sure you know that already. Why do we switch that around? Because on LinkedIn, people are skimming. So you want to lead with your wins. You want to start with the results that you got, then share what actions you took, and then share the situation or the context. So take a moment to think about your biggest achievement this year. How could you reframe it to showcase both the business impact and your leadership approach? Now that is a winning combination. Moving on to your experience section. This is where many of us tend to play it too safe. So let's change that. I'll share a framework that I call the leadership impact method. For each role that you have had, structure your content in the leadership impact method, which is a 3-layer method where the first layer focuses on your strategic impact. The second layer showcases your leadership story. And then the third layer is all about innovation and initiative. Let's start with the first layer, which is strategic impact. Here you want to start with your biggest wins, use metrics and percentages to quantify those wins. And lastly, focus on business transformation. How did your wins help transform your business, the company, your team, whatever that looks like? You want to make sure that you include that in this first layer, which focuses on strategic impact. For example, instead of led team of 15 sales representatives, which is very informational and dry, you want to write transformed an underperforming sales team into revenue generators, increasing team performance by 127% in 12 months. Only, of course, if that's true. You want to know your metrics. You want to make sure that you can quantify with metrics and percentages whatever wins you have. And be creative with it. If you don't have percentages, that's absolutely fine. Maybe you help create engagement on your team, or people are more excited, they're more passionate, they are innovating more. Talk about those wins. Coming to layer 2, your leadership story. Here's where you want to, 1, highlight how you led change. 2, showcase team development, if that's the case. And lastly, emphasize cross-functional collaboration. So those are the 3 keys. 1, highlight how you led change. 2, showcase team development that you were responsible for. And lastly, emphasize cross-functional collaboration. What did that look like? How did that play out? What impact did it have? Many female leaders I work with hesitate to include initiatives beyond their core responsibilities, like mentorship programs or DEI committees, thinking they are just a side project. But these leadership activities often demonstrate your ability to see beyond the day-to-day operations and create lasting organizational impact. They show recruiters and decision makers that you're a well-rounded leader who builds strong company culture while delivering business results. Who doesn't want a leader like that on their team? So really be clear. And here, if you are very humble, if you don't like highlighting your wins, what you're doing, how you're doing that, now is the time to put the humility aside and really focus on what have you done? What impact have you driven? How has your leadership story played out? And really build on that, because this is what will help you stand out. This is what recruiters will be looking at. This is what other leaders will be looking at. And that is what will resonate the most with them. Okay, that was layer 2. Coming to the final layer, layer 3, innovation and initiative. Here you want to include programs you created, if you have, or maybe programs that you co-created, that you managed. Highlight process improvements. If you improved processes on your team, in your organization, in your department, be sure to highlight that. And then lastly, showcase your thought leadership. And here's a pro tip. For each role, include at least one example of how you've innovated or brought fresh perspectives to your organization. Because it's important to remember, your experience section isn't simply a list of jobs. It's a showcase of your leadership journey. So think of each role as a chapter in your leadership story. Take some time to brainstorm all the roles you've had, the relevant roles that you want to focus on. You don't have to focus on all the roles you've had over the last 15, 20 years. but really focus on those that'll make the biggest difference when you add them to your LinkedIn profile. Here's how you can take action right after listening to this episode. Or if you feel inclined, press pause right now and do this. Number 1, set a 30-minute timer. 2, choose your current or most recent leadership role. 3, apply the 3-layer framework. Remember, the 3-layer framework is where you're going to focus on strategic impact. Layer 2 is where you showcase your leadership story. And then layer 3 is where you talk about all the innovation and initiatives that you might have been responsible for in this role that you're focusing on. Remember, you're not just listing what you did. You're showing how you led, transformed, and made an impact. Deal? Okay, quick story. Last week, a coaching client told me she felt uncomfortable about bragging about her achievements. I reminded her that it's not bragging, it's providing evidence of your capabilities. So here's a reminder for you. If you feel uncomfortable thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this is bragging, you are simply providing evidence of your capabilities. When you frame your experience through the lens of impact and transformation, you're not just serving yourself, you're showing other women leaders what's possible. So think about your current role. What's one leadership initiative you've taken that you haven't highlighted yet on LinkedIn? That's the one you want to hone in on and start creating and using the 3-layer method. Now that you have these practical networking strategies, let's talk about some strategic ways to elevate your leadership brand. We are going to focus on 2 powerful strategies that can position you for your next leadership move, whether that's within your current company or somewhere new. These are what I call visibility accelerators, techniques that make you stand out as a senior leader. Strategy 1, the leadership spotlight method, is about strategically showcasing your leadership in action. Once a month, share what I call a leadership insight post. And here's a simple formula to follow to help you. Start with a specific challenge your team faced. Then share how you navigated it. 3, highlight the lesson learned. And finally, connect it to a broader business impact. That's it. That's the formula. 4 things. Start with a specific challenge, share how you navigated it, highlight the lesson you learned or your team learned, and then connect it to a broader business impact. So instead of just sharing that you completed a project, write about how you led your team through an unexpected challenge, what you learned about resilience, and how this approach improved team performance. What leadership challenge have you successfully navigated that could inspire other leaders? Think about that. Strategy number 2, the executive presence builder, one of my favorite strategies. This strategy is about engaging with senior leadership content in a way that positions you as a peer. So even if you are not a senior leader yet, you want to position yourself as a peer. You want them to see you as a peer. So here's your action plan. Follow 5 senior leaders in your industry or your dream companies. Each week, engage meaningfully with one of their posts by sharing your own executive perspective. But here's a pro tip. Focus your comments on strategic thinking, not just tactical execution. For example, if a CEO posts about digital transformation, share your thoughts on change management or team adaptation, not simply the technical aspects. Okay, here's an action step for you. Choose one of these strategies to implement this week. Maybe you want to draft a leadership insight post about a recent win, or find 3 leaders to follow and engage with. Remember, visibility isn't about self-promotion. It's about sharing insights that help others while positioning you as a thoughtful leader. But before we wrap up today's episode, I want to share something important. I know we are close to the holidays. Looking back at everything we've covered, from profile optimization to advanced visibility strategies, it might feel like a lot. And if you're thinking this is overwhelming, I don't know where to start, I invite you to take a deep breath. Here's the thing about LinkedIn mastery. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about progress over perfection. In fact, I want you to pick just one strategy from today's episode. Maybe it's optimizing your About section, or perhaps it's committing to one leadership insight post this month. Whatever that is, choose what resonates most with you and start there. Because you know what I've learned from working with hundreds of female leaders and male leaders? The ones who succeed aren't the ones who try to do everything perfectly. They are the ones who take consistent, small steps forward. So here's your permission slip to start small. Choose one strategy that spoke to you today. Implement it this week. Celebrate that win. Celebrate the fact that you did it. And then come back to this episode when you're ready for your next strategy. And come back to this episode as many times as you need to, as many times as you want. But make sure that every week you are implementing one single strategy. So, which strategy are you going to implement first? I'd love to know. Connect with me on LinkedIn and share your choice. I will link to my LinkedIn profile. So go ahead, connect with me. Let me know what you are trying, what is working, what is resonating, and maybe what isn't resonating, or what else you would like me to focus on. Remember, your LinkedIn presence is a journey, not a race. Take it one step at a time and focus on progress over perfection. Every small step you take is moving you closer to your leadership goals. So use LinkedIn as your platform to inspire, to lead, and to create change. Thank you for joining me today. Until next week, my friend, I am Kele, reminding you that great communication is the foundation of inspiring leadership. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember to communicate to lead.